A teenager goes missing in St. Louis County. Right now, police need your help to find him.
Social media, bank accounts, the locks on our home. We use passwords for everything. But are we using the right ones?
Sex is everywhere in society today, and for some, it's addictive.
There are several chances for rain and snow headed our way. I'll time out your forecast straight ahead.
And this morning, we know who will finish top dog at Sunday's Super Bowl.
This is Today in St. Louis.
And welcome back. It is 6:30. I'm Ryan Dean in for Running Out, who's getting ready to go to South Korea. He flies out tomorrow.
It's here, and I'm Allie Corey. We will have another check of your weather and traffic coming up in just a moment, but first, we want to get you caught up in the headlines in the morning rush.
Yeah, we're working to get more details about a shooting in a South St. Louis bar that involved an off-duty police officer. It happened at Gray Fox Bar just before midnight. We're told the off-duty cop from Belda City shot a man multiple times in the chest. Right now, the man who was shot is still alive in the hospital, and police aren't saying much about what led to this shooting.
A St. Louis County family desperately hopes you can help find their missing son. Elijah Carter was last seen leaving his home at 11235 LaPorte Lane in North St. Louis County. He's just 15 years old. Family members say he left a note saying he was having suicidal thoughts. If you know anything, you're asked to call St. Louis County Police.
Arizona fire crews are fast asleep at this hour following a late night battling a brush fire. Officials say the blaze spread to 25 acres. No injuries reported and no structure damage, but those who live nearby are being warned of heavy smoke. Investigators don't know what sparked this fire.
There's a pretty cool event happening today that you road trip lovers, you don't want to miss this. The RV show starts this morning at 10 and it lasts until 9 o'clock tonight. It's at the Edwards Jones Dome. You have through Sunday to check it out. So tickets, they're $10 for adults. Kids get in for $5. Kids younger than 5 are free. Guys, it's my dream to retire and have an RV and just, travel the country.
Is it really?
Yes. I just think that would be so much fun. And some of these RVs are luxury on wheels. I mean, they're unbelievable.
They sure are.
I'm
Little
with you,
flat
Allie.
screen in there.
Think of me when you take your road trips.
Yeah.
Well, you could come with me.
All right.
You can bring the boys.
It might be a good time to head west, right, to get some warmer weather.
Yeah, if you want to go somewhere where there's going to be warmth, hop in your RV and go to the west. 'Cause
That's right.
St. Louis ain't the one. Not
yet.
Not for the next week or so. 6:33. It'll get a little bit warmer as we head towards the weekend, parts of the weekend. But all in all, temperatures at or below average the next 7 to 10 days. Live picture here coming in from Chesterfield. You can see everyone zipping along. 64-40, no problems through the valley. Anthony will complete the traffic situation in just a moment. We're just shy of 40, so it's actually not bad out there. Wildwood, Cahokia at 37 in Alton, and it is 40 in Ladue. Temperatures, though, will be falling for the rest of this day. That's right, so it's warmer now than it will be all day the rest of this day. So my suggestion is just keep the thicker jacket with you. You may not need it now, but with the blustery conditions later on, it will feel much colder. Also a few flurries, maybe a snow shower around, and maybe a sprinkle. More on that in a few minutes. Anthony is here.
All right, 6:33, talk about your traffic now. I've been watching the maps this morning because we haven't had much in terms of accidents, but the typical build is starting to form, especially across 270 across South County, headed from Melville northbound. You can see our speeds are down to about 30 to 40 miles per hour. There was also a crash reported at Marshall and Big Bend, not on the interstate, but keep in mind you could see some flashing lights zip on through that stretch as we get going this morning. I want to take you back outside to our chopper over 55 this morning, and you can actually see what I'm talking about. This is 55 as you approach Butler Hill, and you see a nice decent drive for you. Lots of space here this morning between the cars, so we've been doing okay for the most part across much of the region. This has been the scene pretty much all morning long, an accident-free morning for the most part. Again, we've had a few crashes on side streets, but the interstates have been looking pretty decent this morning. All right, 6:34, I'm going to toss it back over to you.
All right, Anthony and everybody out there watching, did you know that today is Change Your Password Day? You're probably just sighing right now like, oh, really? I have to change my password again? I know you have to do it so often, but we're getting into this today because it is so important. We see all these data breaches all the time and hacking going on. So the guy that actually wrote the book on making a good password says that he has it all wrong. So passwords like this, right, where you use all the symbols and the weird numbering and everything, the ones that you probably can't remember, those are actually bad. They're not good. So what is a good password? What makes a good one? Well, we went to the FBI to find out.
The longer the password, the better. So one way to do it is to think of a phrase or a sentence and then just pick the first letter of each word for your password.
Okay, so the guy that wrote the book that said he was wrong says that what she just said is right. Are you following me? Okay, so say for example that you wanted to use something from Shakespeare. To be or not to be? That is the question. So what would you do for your password? Let's come over here, John. This is what you would do.
Oh my goodness.
This is so complicated. TBONTBTITQ. Okay, that's kind of confusing, but that could work, right? And if you just remember that phrase, then you'll remember the first letter of every word. Okay, you could do that. So that's not the only thing that you want to do, though. Rebecca Wu says you should have other channels of protection as well. Here's what else she has to say.
Security is not convenient, and if you have that mindset, you're more apt to be more diligent. Think of it in terms of physical security. You can store the key right next to the lock, and sure, that's convenient, but that completely defeats the purpose. Just as important as using a strong password, it's also important to implement a two-factor authentication.
Okay, so Rebecca, she is a smart woman. She's also my neighbor. Hey, Rebecca. So this is important, right? So maybe you've actually used this before. It's when you get asked a question. That's a second form of protection. Or where you go to put something in and you get a passcode actually sent to your phone, and then you have to enter that passcode. These things are so important, especially in the day and age that we live today. So even though you're probably so mad at me today, celebrate this day and change your password, right?
I think a lot of people will be using that forgot my password if they use that TBONTBTI. Wow. All right. Well, dealing with asthma is a daily struggle for many in St. Louis, especially for children. And a local company's air pollution could be making the problem a lot worse. The I-Team's Maria Hallis reveals what she's uncovered.
3 coal-burning power plants in our area are pouring out tons of sulfur dioxide every year. It's a corrosive gas that can worsen asthma attacks.
We have an asthma problem in this community to begin with, and this sulfur dioxide is only making things worse.
Tonight at 6, I'll investigate the well-known energy company accused of poisoning our air and how some environmentalists say it's resisting efforts to clean up its act. Watch my investigation tonight at 6, only on 5 on Your Side.
Russians to the Olympics, the last-ditch effort that could flip the Winter Games upside down.
New at 6, experts share life-saving advice for people dealing with sex addiction.
And this morning, the Super Bowl has gone to the dogs. An American soldier calling out for help. I'm live in St. Anne with the dramatic end to a tense situation.
The President of the United States.
President Trump lays out a detailed plan for change at his State of the Union.
We've got a warm day across the bi-state, but I'm tracking some big changes for the weekend.
And can a peacock really fly?
This is Today in St. Louis.
There we go. Here we are. We were over on the other side of the set. That's why we weren't here.
Chester, you're in the wrong spot,
but
too.
now we are here.
Good morning. We don't stand here often. It's Wednesday, January 31st. I'm Allie Corey.
It's called live TV. I'm Rennie Knott. It's a blue blood moon, a super blue blood moon this morning. Try to say that 5 times fast, or at least just say it once.
Yes, and it's also a very big day for us, which might be why we're a little rattled this morning. This is Rennie's final show before he takes off for South Korea to cover the Winter Olympics. So, I know Rennie's a little nervous about this. We do have a lot of surprises planned over the next hour to make sure we send him off right. He's already cried this morning. He might cry again. So if you do leave us early, be sure to set your DVR because you're definitely going to want to see what we have in store for him. But first, we're going to give you a break. Let's get you out the door with a check of the forecast. Chester,
Yep.
Are you in the right spot?
I don't know. We'll see. Oh, yes, the camera is moving towards me. That's a good start. Looking good here at 6 o'clock temperature-wise, but it's quite cloudy. It's actually overcast now. We're up to 40. It's 40 at 6 in the morning on the last day of January in St. Louis. A strong southerly breeze. You'll need the windbreaker or, something to kind of protect you from the wind today. But it is going to be a mild day in St. Louis. Now, during this hour, we have that partial lunar eclipse happening. And look, it's cloudy out there. It's mostly cloudy. So you won't get a good look at it this morning. You may get a few peeks of that lunar eclipse. We'll keep an eye on that satellite for you next few hours. And there we are near 60 this afternoon. More on this forecast in a few. Anthony is watching those roads right now.
All right, well, I've been keeping an eye on the region, and we've been doing all right this morning. Here's a look at Doherty Ferry. You can see we're starting to look at volume build through this stretch. But overall, doing okay, even lots of space between the bursts of cars you see here moving northbound. Your 270 drive time, about a 20-minute from North County to South County, and also headed in the opposite direction from South County northbound. The only thing I'm really concerned about this morning on the Illinois side, heard of a crash earlier this morning, and it seems like some lanes are tied up on Route 3 southbound approaching the McKinley Bridge. So if that's your route, you may want to avoid that. Try to use some of the other streets to get around that. But again, may not be able to access the McKinley Bridge right now from Route 3 headed southbound. All right, Allie, running back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Anthony. It's a story our crews followed all night long while you were sleeping. Police caught in a standoff with an American soldier in a grocery store parking lot.
Now, it happened in the parking lot of a Shop and Save grocery store in St. Anne. Our Abby Larico is live on the scene. She's working to learn more for us this morning. Abby, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Allie and Rennie. So yeah, this happened in this parking lot where police first arrived because of a report of a suspicious car parked here. Turns out when they arrived, it was a man who was armed, barricading himself inside, threatening to kill himself. Now that meant once they realized that he was armed, it meant that they wanted to make sure that people weren't leaving the store and coming out into the parking lot into a potentially dangerous situation, which made police make the call to keep people inside that grocery store for up to 4 hours before bringing them out one by one to safely get them home themselves. Now, we have confirmed that the person that was involved in this standoff is a relative of Cookie Thornton, the well-known person who shot up Kirkwood City Hall just about 10 years ago. So we've confirmed that they are related. We just have not been able to identify with exact certainty what kind of relationship, family relationship rather, that they have. Now, police were finally able to get this person out of his car and to a hospital after an exhausting 6 hours.
He was definitely ready to go.
This would have a peaceful ending for most of the night, though. The man who was barricaded in his car, they said he was either determined to kill himself or be killed by police. Now, police told us early on that this is a man in his mid-30s, also a veteran who served twice in Iraq. They actually called 2 others who he'd served with to help talk to him and negotiate through this. This is actually the second time police have had to talk to this person because of mental health issues like this one. They said it was tense for much of the time, but police showed quite a bit of restraint, making sure that no weapons were fired and that nobody was hurt. This all ended peacefully. Again, he was taken from here just after 2 o'clock this morning, transported in an ambulance to a hospital where we're told he's undergoing mental health treatment. That is the very latest from St. Anne. Abby Larico, 5 on your side.
All right, Abby, thanks. Post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide is a serious issue that members of our armed forces deal with every day. According to the VA, veterans are twice as likely to commit suicide than civilians. If you think someone may be suicidal, the VA encourages you to directly ask them. If you think you may need help, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is open 24 hours a day. That number is 1-800-273-TALK.
We turn now to our nation's capital, where the dust is still settling after last night's State of the Union. President Trump spoke for well over an hour, challenging Congress on several big issues. Now, the issues seem to grab your attention as well. According to Twitter, it's the most tweeted joint address to Congress ever.
So if you happen to miss the speech, no worries. Ryan Dean has us all covered this morning. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, guys. So President Trump touted a strong economy, tax reform, and $1 trillion infrastructure bill, while also addressing Dreamers, Guantanamo, and the U.S. position toward North Korea.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
President Trump outlined his economic success in his first State of the Union address, setting an ambitious agenda for his second year in office, starting with a $1.5 trillion investment to rebuild the nation's infrastructure. This comes one day after a new report that showed bridges across America are crumbling. Missouri and Illinois both were in the top 5 when it comes to having the highest number of structurally deficient bridges in the country.
As we rebuild our industries, it is also time to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. We built the Empire State Building in just 1 year. Isn't it a disgrace that it can now take 10 years just to get a minor permit approved for the building of a simple road.
Now, he also called on Democrats to work with Republicans to act on an immigration plan, and the president called for an end to chain migration, which drew some groans from the crowd, guys.
A lot of reactions coming in. Like you said, on Twitter, one of the biggest ever.
Absolutely.
Incredible, incredible. Thank you, Ryan.
You got it.
Well, the Democrats made a point to touch on bullies in the State of the Union rebuttal. The response was given by Massachusetts Democratic Representative Joe Kennedy, the grandson of Bobby Kennedy.
Bullies may land a punch. They may leave a mark. But they have never, not once, in the history of our United States, managed to match the strength and spirit of a people united in defense of their future.
5 on your side, political analyst Dave Robertson watched the speech with our team here in-house.
And he called it a well-crafted speech. He gave it a B to B+ grade, but he says he's unsure it will help the president's approval ratings.
Hit all the points he needed to hit. He was very conciliatory, tried to bring people together, talk across the two parties. He had a couple of moments that kind of tweaked the other side a bit, but still he got his message out in the way he wanted to get it out and led with his strength. I think his strength right now is the economy.
While Robertson is not confident this will help the president's approval ratings in the long term, he does expect a minor bump, but says it won't last long.
Now, we've heard from the experts, but now we want to hear from the people who really matter. You. What did you think of President Trump's speech last night?
Go ahead and open the KSDK app and click Vote Now to rate the president out of 5 stars.
All right, let's turn now to that incredible sight in the skies. Here's live video from NASA of the super blue blood moon. Now, the blue moon part refers to the fact that it's the second full moon of the month. It's also super because the moon's position to the Earth will make it about 14% bigger and 30% brighter. And the blood part of that, well, that means that the moon will actually be eclipsed by the Earth's shadow, making it appear red. So there you have it. That's everything you need to know about this. And to me, it's not quite as spectacular as the solar eclipse was this past summer, but outstanding nonetheless, Chester.
Oh, yeah. Super cool to see. But I will say this, though. Unfortunately for us here locally, we're just too cloudy to get a local view of it. If you do sneak in a photo, we'd love to see it. Hashtag us at TISL, guys. But
you know, when I went outside this morning, you could kind of see it through the clouds.
Yes.
But it's just a big moon at that point.
Right, exactly.
I was really hoping it was like a blue color moon. That was kind of cool,
no.
but
It does actually turn blue. It does turn kind of reddish, though, in the tint of that lunar eclipse, which is happening right now in the St. Louis area. We just can't see it through that cloud cover, which has seemed to have thickened up over the last couple of hours. As Rennie mentioned, he saw it on his way in. I did too, but the lunar eclipse just began now, and go figure, it's cloudy. But it is warm, it's breezy, and when I say warm, it's warm for January. Temperatures are above freezing. In fact, we've popped up to 40 in O'Fallon, Lake St. Louis, and close to it in Eureka and Arnold. It's near 40 in Ladue and Cahokia and Edwardsville. You're in at 36. We're cloudy through the morning and then sunny at midday, go figure, and then the clouds move back in towards the later afternoon hours. Today's high 59, nearly 60. Then colder weather arrives for Thursday and Friday. I'll talk about that and our small chance for light rain and snow for the weekend in a few. 6:10 traffic time.
All right, well, I'm watching something this morning on the Illinois side. Want to show you at least first what's happening on the maps. And you can see we're doing okay, at least on the Missouri side. Green sensors painted everywhere. But here it is, the McKinley Bridge. As you get off of Route 3, approaching the McKinley Bridge, headed onto the Missouri side, there is a crash. It seems as though right before you get to the bridge. I'm going to step out of the way and you can actually look at this full screen and see what I'm talking about. There are the flashing lights, and that is Route 3 where the crash happened, underneath one of the bridges there, approaching the McKinley Bridge. So again, Route 3 does not look like you'll be able to get onto the McKinley Bridge from this vantage point. So you're going to have to stay on Route 3 all the way through Venice and down through that area around this, headed down towards the stand span and the rest of the area. Of course, this is going to take you through a very congested area, the Poplar Street, the stand span, and also the Martin Luther King Bridge. So just add a little extra time if this is your route. Again, everywhere else we're doing okay through the metro area. All right, guys, back over to you.
He's already facing 175 years behind bars, but Larry Nassar could get more piled on later today.
Recreational marijuana could soon be for sale in Illinois if lawmakers get their way.
And have you ever heard of a service peacock?
What?
Kicking off your morning rush as dozens of people are figuring out what to do after their homes burned down in a 4-alarm fire. This happened at an apartment in the Bronx late last night. Fire officials say 3 people are hurt, plus 2 firefighters. But all of the injuries are minor. People were put on a bus and sent to a shelter to keep warm. Larry Nassar takes a plea deal that drops 13 counts of criminal sexual conduct down to just 6. Nassar was sentenced to up to 175 years behind bars last week in a different case. Now, in this latest case, more than 50 women are expected to give victim statements as part of his sentencing. Illinois may be next for legal recreational marijuana. State lawmakers say a bill should be filed by February that would legalize it. Their goal is to potentially reduce crime and bring in sales tax. The bill's authors don't expect it to pass until next year. Well, we've heard of emotional support animals like dogs or cats, but what about an emotional support peacock? Yeah, check out this Facebook video of the bird. This is in a New Jersey airport just before it got turned away from flying. Its owner says she even bought the peacock a ticket. United Airlines says it did not meet the weight or the size guidelines to fly. So that peacock got the boot.
Well, you know, maybe you should just use its wings, lazy peacock. No, I'm just kidding. I know they can't fly. They're lazy. Anyway.
Anyways, yeah.
So a lot of folks trying to step out to see this partial lunar eclipse,
I know,
Allie, and
I know.
unfortunately, it's not looking good. It's
Well,
quite
because
cloudy.
all the clouds,
yeah.
right?
So we're going to show you the satellite here in just a moment.